Hi guys, I'm Irene. This is Perpetually Paperback, and today I'm doing my March wrap-up. Okay, so I read 6 books in the month of March, and I'm just gonna go in order that I read them and talk about them. I'm actually gonna start doing a little bit longer reviews of, actually they're not gonna be longer. They're probably gonna be shorter reviews, but start doing more individual actual reviews of books, just because it's the reason I went to BookTube, and it's one of my favorite things about BookTube. Not that I don't like the other video concepts, they're awesome, but I want to still have that as an aspect on my channel. Also, just a general announcement, I joined Storygraph, so if you want to find me on Storygraph, it's Perpetually Paperback on there. Be my friend. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. So the first book I read in the month of March was The Lion in the Valley, which is an Amelia Peabody, that's by Elizabeth Peters. It's an Amelia Peabody mystery. It is the 4th in the series. Turns out there's like 20, and I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed it. I should have enjoyed it more than I did. Let me tell you what happened. I have way too many audiobook apps, and I actually use this. So my boyfriend and I share an audiobook account that we both buy things on because we both listen to some of the same things, right? So we ended up having a credit. I used it, and like an idiot, I didn't actually check the narrator. Turns out there's 2 narrators for the audiobook series. Barbara Rosenblatt, I believe is her name, is the one that I had been listening to. And she's this British lady. She's, I had read so many by her, and she just does Amelia in such an amazing, sassy way. She also says chagrined. The author uses chagrin in the book all the time. I don't know if I've said this before, but the way that that narrator says it, she's like, she goes so hard with it. She's like, chagrin. And I missed it so much. It really ruined the book a little bit for me. Like, I really should have enjoyed it more than I did, because it's actually one of the more exciting ones. The master criminal comes out in this one in a really cool way. So that was The Lion in the Valley. I'm at the point where, because that one also was such a different reading experience for me than the rest of them, I don't know how far I'm going to go into the series now. But that was the 4th one. After that, I'm not going to say too much about this one because I have a whole video comparing it, but I read Julia Quinn's The Duke and I. I actually have a video coming out shortly that's going to be, it might be out already actually. If it is, I will link it in the video. I don't know which side. I'm just pointing everywhere. Anyway, so that video is comparing the Netflix series to the actual book series, or the book. I can't say series because I don't think I'm gonna read any more than the first one. Spoiler alert, I gave it 1 star. So I'm not even really gonna say much about it here. If you wanna find out why, refer to that video. It was terrible. I digress. Moving on. So actually this month, in the whole month, I actually had, I think I have, let me actually check. I had 1 1-star, 2 3-star books, and yeah, 3 5-star books. So it was actually a really good reading month for me. So after I read the disaster that was The Duke and I, and just to kind of, yeah, it basically has rendered me speechless about it at this point, just because I'm just so kind of befuddled by the whole thing more than anything. But anyway, so after that, I had to read something that was, I wanted something, I don't know, different, something enjoyable. I ended up reading She Came to Slay. She Came to Slay, The Life and Times of Harriet Tubman by Erica Armstrong Dunbar. That book was fantastic. It is very short. I think it's a novella. I heard it on Scribd. It was about 3 hours long. I couldn't stop listening to it. It is so good. I knew a little bit about Harriet Tubman. Like, I knew kind of the basics of that everyone else knew, but there's so much in there that I did not know. like, she is a bad bitch. She was incredible. It was so good. Like, as I was listening to that, I was like, I think I was cooking or doing the dishes or something, and my boyfriend was like, I don't know what it is you were listening to, but the noises that you were making as you were listening to that were really interesting. It was like, no, she was incredible. Just everything about her. She did not stop. She didn't take no for an answer. She was incredible, and more people should really read this. It was so fantastic. It was also told in a really engaging way, and I mean, you sped through the 3 hours. After that, I read, actually I have it somewhere. I'll probably put the picture up, but it's The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. It was actually it was a book of the month selection, and it's the book that I picked for my Uncorked Librarian Reading Challenge. It was historical fiction with women, and that was literally perfect. It also was like, I am a sucker for when the book, like I open my book of the month box and there's just like a really beautiful book. I did the same thing with Ties That Tether. Like, I am such a cover whore. If the cover is beautiful, this one happens to have gold foil. Hold on, let me get it. Okay, so you can see like this, especially in the camera, like it's beautiful. Beautiful books get me every single time. Also, so it's a historical fiction. It follows 3 women. It's a split timeline. 2 of them are in the late 1700s. 1 of them is in present day. And it basically is the story of this apothecary who kind of ended up using her shop to develop these poisons that women would come to her and then they would use to then dispose of their bad situations, so to speak, either abusive husbands or just someone doing something that they shouldn't be doing. There's another character named Eliza. She's this 12-year-old girl that ends up becoming somewhat of an apprentice. And in modern day, we have Caroline, who is in the middle of figuring out her marriage, and she ends up in London and she finds this vial. She used to be a history student, but just kind of let it go in kind of the general humdrum of her life. And so she's trying to reconnect with that. And the story then goes so the story of the women in the 1700s is directly related to the one of present day. And oftentimes you'll get the reaction of an event that happened in the 1700s in the present day. I think this book suffered from, it was actually really, really fast paced, which was nice. And had it not been, I don't know that I would have gotten through it because it kind of went a little bit like this. I gave it 3 stars because it wasn't unenjoyable, but it wasn't very deep. The character development, there wasn't necessarily a whole lot of it. I can't necessarily say there wasn't a whole lot of it. It was just kind of light. I did actually a full review on this one that should be out already, so go ahead and check that out. I will link the video as well for this one. And if that's something you want to talk about and maybe you liked it a little bit more than I did, I would love to talk to you about it, because I think for me I felt like I just wanted there to be more meat to it. I wanted there to be more to the story. Also, towards the end, there were some things that happened that kind of, it took me out of the story a little bit that didn't really work for me. But if you loved it, I would love to hear why. So definitely let me know what your thoughts are of that one if that's something you read recently. After that, I read, so this one I was sort of reading actually through the month, but it was The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. It's a nonfiction. This was actually the one I was originally going to do for the Uncorked Librarian Challenge of historical fiction with women, but I wanted it to be nonfiction. I think the original prompt was nonfiction. Either way, this book, The Radium Girls, was horrifying and excellent and just sad. So sad. I mean, a couple lessons to learn from that. If a company ever says that they're going to take care of you, don't ever listen to them. They're not going to take care of you. They don't love you. They're not here for you. They are not here for you. You need to be for yourself. And just, first off, a couple of things with this one. I do not recommend this to you if you are particularly squeamish, especially if you have issues with like orthodontia, and there's a lot of horrible things that happen to these women and they get really graphic. I don't think it's anything that I should be shied away from, because ultimately they had to go through this so that we now have the things that we do, like for example, workers' rights, workers' comp, being able to say that you were injured on the job and to hold the company responsible if it was if it was because of them that you were hurt. I mean, they just paved the way for so many things like that, that it was truly outstanding. But this one genuinely had some moments that truly turned my stomach. And I have like pretty ironclad I have a pretty ironclad disposition, I would say. Like, I can generally read really horrifying things and be okay. This one, this one had some shit in it. Like, oh, ladies. Wow. But Also, truly a testament to the human spirit, because these women were absolutely incredible. Their journeys were amazing. If you can, if this is something that you're interested in, check it out. It's these women that worked for the Radium Company. They were government companies and private as well in New Jersey and Illinois. And what they did is they painted dials with radium-based paint. And then it basically, obviously, it is a hugely poisonous substance to humans, right? So, I mean, to anyone, it's horribly dangerous. So it was just kind of the story of how these women came into contact with it and how it was hidden by the company and just what happened to them and everything like that. It was incredible. That book was so good. It's going to haunt me. It's going to stick with me. I want everyone to read it, even though I know it might be a little bit too much for people, but, God, it was heartbreaking. It was so good. So good. Okay. After that, I was going to kind of cut it right there, and that was going to be our own review. And then, oh my goodness, Sarah McLean happened. Just what? I am still on like I don't even know what happened to me situation, basically. I read A Rogue Not Taken, and it's part of the Scandals and Scoundrels series, I want to say. So I recently read a Sarah McLean. Absolutely loved it. I mean, she's historical fiction. I don't necessarily think it's Regency romance, because it's not necessarily set in the Regency, but it's in the 1800s and like the Victorian era. So it's a Victorian romance ultimately. And it is enemies to lovers, hardcore enemies to lovers, and I just don't even have words for what I can say. It is everything I didn't know I needed in a romance. And there's not actually that much actual steamy stuff happening in this one. There's maybe 3 scenes. They're real few and far between, but just, I can't even speak. The way that she describes things without ever saying the thing that it is just outstanding. Just her writing style is great. Her books tend to be a little bit longer. So like, for example, like maybe Elisa Kleypas might be like around 200, not quite getting to the 300 mark. Hers are long. Hers are 300 to 400 actually. And I think they're worth every page. There's so much character development that happens. I read a lot of reviews for this one too, and a lot of them say that the main character in this one was a total ass and it put them off completely. I don't know, for me it didn't put me off because it was such an enemies to lovers, and I felt like there was such a good banter and such a good back and forth. Obviously at some point it does change, but like I thought both characters were well matched. It was very even. It's like, I don't know, I felt like it was like a feminist's dream for a romance. Like as a feminist, this is the thing you would want to read. Like, that was the starkest thing for me with reading something like this versus reading something like Julia Quinn's Bridgerton. Not that there's anything wrong with either of them. And ultimately, not that I need a disclaimer here, but like, I am only speaking to my taste. My taste is, I don't want to read I don't want to read a character whose only ambition is to get married and have children, because it just doesn't align with mine very much. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Nothing at all. I just don't find it particularly interesting. Sarah McLean, ultimately, her story, it was like a gunshot went off at the very beginning. Like, just from the start, it's so fast paced, so much happening. Maybe it's more medium paced because it starts off super fast and then obviously peters out towards the end, or not like peters out, but there's more dialogue versus actual action that's happening. But action is going on through this whole book. It is a story about like a couple traveling. So it's a travel story. I don't know if that's something you like or don't like. I thought it fit that, like, this one just it was great. It was absolutely great. There might be some level of like suspension of disbelief that has to happen just based off of I would not necessarily say that hers are super historically accurate, but it doesn't matter. They're just so juicy and so wonderful, and the characters are just, I can't even say enough good things about it. Like, it was just, this isn't even a good review. I didn't tell you anything. Basically, it's this lady who is known as a dangerous daughter. She ends up kind of embroiling herself with the Duke he's a Marquess at the moment, a soon to be Duke. But like, it was kind of totally by accident. And then through the series of events, she ends up like very far away from her home. And then like something happens to her on the road and it makes their trip even longer. And then she decides that based off of everything that happened, she's just gonna like go up to the North Country, which of course happens to be exactly the spot that he's going. So they end up on this journey together and like, duh, enemies to lovers, they fall in love. Sarah's a queen. Like, I'm just so happy. I'm so happy I read it. I'm so happy I knocked through it. Like, it's just, I can't wait to read more of her. I really can't. Okay, so that's it. I'm not even saying anything of note here anymore, but go read it. She's a dream. Okay. All right, so those are all the books that I read in March. If any of those are something that you read or they're anything that you've been checking out, actually also if you have any recommendations based on anything I've said, I would love recommendations more than anything. So please leave them, especially romance writers of color, BIPOC authors. I really want to start delving into, I've only heard of these because some of them are just what's available, some of the research I found, but I would really like to explore more of those writers and check out some different stories. So please leave me some suggestions below. I will definitely check them out. Thanks for being here, you guys. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.